I've been waiting for this since the debacle of Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation. And there has been many iterations and many failures of the Mortal Kombat movie franchise. So, with the latest version, I had hope. Had hope. Let's talk about it. What up, everybody? It's your boy K-Ray06 here on K-RayTV with another movie review of the 2021 release of Mortal Kombat by Warner Bros. That dropped on HBO Max. If you're new here, I'm going to go through the movie and talk about the plot, the storylines, the characters, while giving you my opinion on it all. And then we're going to get into the good, the bad, and the downright disrespectful. Before we do that, as always, do your boy a favor, smash the like button as it helps the channel. Show some love by hitting that sub. If you want to join the best squad on the net, hit that noti bell, click all, and share like you care. It goes a long way as we are on the road to that 10K, and I appreciate it all. Now that that's done, let's get into the review. Mortal Kombat takes place just before the 10th tournament. Just like in the original, Outworld has won 9 times in a row, and if they claim the final victory, they will invade Earth and take over. The story starts off in Japan, year 1617, at the Hanzo Hasashi compound, with Hanzo, who later becomes Scorpion, chilling with his family. And his wife asks him to go get 2 buckets of water. While he goes away, his daughter is crying inside, and his son and wife go in to check on her. As she goes in, she mentions that the temperature in the room is a bit cold, and you immediately know that, it's about to go down, as it's setting up the arrival of Sub-Zero, who is my favorite character, by the way. Shortly after, you hear a scream from the outside, and here comes a classic sword through the door, the little And I want to point out that this is a rated R film. Like, they did not spare in the effects department when it came to blood. Like, oh yeah, we getting all the blood we deserve from a Mortal Kombat film. I'm talking about Brood from WWF bloody. Like, Hanzo's wife hides the baby in the floorboards, and soon after, here comes Bihan, looking all sinister like, not quite full Sub-Zero yet, but work in progress. And I started shouting because if you haven't seen Joe's work in The Warrior, check it out on Stars, because the man gets down in that, so check that out. So I knew this confrontation between Bihan and Hanzo was about to be epic. Bihan comes in looking for Hanzo, first speaking in Chinese, then speaking in Japanese. And it didn't take long before he started displaying his ice abilities, and he summoned like a spike from his hand as like the music in the background geared up and geared up and geared up, and then you hear a loud scream. And Hanzo hears the scream nearby as he's gathering the water, and he just drops it and takes off to go see what's going on. And as he gets there, he sees all his men slaughtered, and then he's seeing his wife and son like on their knees. I'm talking about boys to men, bended knees, like on their knees, cradled up, deep frozen with a spike through his chest. And I'm like, dang, like didn't Sub-Zero learn deep freeze in Mortal Kombat 2? Like, he is not playing. He started off the movie with a fatality. And Hanzo doesn't even get a chance to grieve because he immediately attacked by the Lin Kuei, and this is when we get that scene from the trailer. Honestly, this is one of, if not the best fighting scene in the entire movie. And Hanzo goes off. I'm talking about Omni slashing everybody. Like, slice here. Like midsection slice here. Like, oh, you trying to duck? Well, let me put this sword in your scalp. Oh, you trying to run? Well, let me throw this sword in your back real quick. Like, it was epic. Then he runs off and finds his iconic weapon and puts his rope through it, and then he goes off, like putting on a clinic, just like dropping bodies, while Bihan was just like sitting on a rock meditating with like no worries in the world. He was like, I'm gonna let you finish. Oh, you warmed up now? All right, let's go. And Hanzo immediately throws his weapon at Bihan, and it hits the tree behind him, and then he pulls it out and slices Bihan's face, and then they end up, squaring up. And while Hanzo was putting up a great fight at first, Bihan starts to overwhelm him as he like slams his head into a rock, tossed him all into a tree. I'm talking about you're gonna need a chiropractor after that. And then finally getting his iconic weapon and then stabbed him in his neck region. And and as Hanzo was dying, he said, you know, like, don't forget this face or don't forget to remember this face. And Bihan straight banged on. He was like, for the Lin Kuei. Like, I was like, dang, y'all not playing, huh? Y'all, to me, this was the best fight in the entire movie. Like, they put the house on the opening scene, like all the money, all the CGI, the fighting, the directing, everything was dedicated to this opening, and you can tell. The rest of the movie, I digress, but this scene, perfection. Continuing on, you hear the baby crying in the house from under the floorboards, and Hanzo tries to like crawl his way to get to his daughter, but he doesn't make it as he officially dies. And then Raiden comes and then he takes the baby from the floorboards, and then he leaves, and the Mortal Kombat logo comes on some screen, and this is how we start the movie. If you base this movie off the opening alone, you will give it nothing but praise and much accolades. But you know, we still have like 2+ hours of the film left, and you know, there's that. We open back the movie with, yes, Johnny Cage. Like, we all know he's not in the movie, so who do we open up with? Cole Young. If you're searching the archives and databases of Mortal Kombat characters, let me stop you here. Cole Young is in no iteration of any Mortal Kombat game, and he's specifically made for the film. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that's like, why add a new characters when you have a boatload of characters already and you can just use one of them? And I was one of those people. However, I'm a firm believer if they introduce a new character and he adds or she adds to the story and lore in a good way, then I'm okay with that. Cole Young is an MMA fighter who apparently was good at one point in time, but now is a shell of his former self. And he has taken a short notice fight for $200. I noticed that they referred to Cole as the human punching bag, and they say like when it comes to throwing punches, he's good, but when it comes to defense, he sucks. Thus the name. And we quickly see that as he fights a fighter named Ramirez, and he comes out strong. I'm talking about throwing a front punch, kids throwing fast combos. But once taken down to the ground, and after a failed attempt for armbar submission, Cole is put in a cradle position and then hammer fist like back to back before being put in a submission himself, and then he taps out. All the while, Jax was outside the cage watching the fight, and he was like, there go Cole again, losing like always. We jump over to Outworld and we get Shang Tsung sitting as he calls forth Bihan, now Sub-Zero, to cheat as he doesn't want to do a 10th tournament because it's a prophecy that they will lose to Hanzo's bloodline, which were thought to be wiped out like centuries ago. So Shang Tsung asked Sub-Zero to take out Earth's champions so they won't have any fighters to begin with. And I'm like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? Cole takes his family to eat as Jack spies on him because he knows he has a marking. And snow starts to come down in July. And once like the windows and tables start freezing, like Sub-Zero comes in like a war chief from like Lord of the Rings. And he starts raining down ice everywhere. And Jax pulls up like, yo, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. After hitting a few corners, they're eventually cut off by Sub-Zero, and Jax gives Cole the coordinates to go meet Sonya Blade, which is in Gary, Indiana. And then he goes looking for Sub-Zero in the empty building. I love the fact that on one of the walls there's some graffiti and it showcases Mortal Kombat movelets, and I'm like, you know, that's dope. Some fan service. But here is when Jax and Sub-Zero go against each other. And Jax quickly tries to shoot Sub-Zero, but Sub-Zero shows that, you know, that does nothing to him because he can freeze him. But, you know, Jax isn't impressed because, you know, he's on 6 tours, mother. And I swear, like, this gonna be like the new Dokes from Dexter, you know, the surprise, mother. Like, I'm already using this line like in my daily language now. Like, for real, like, I got a friend that said they can beat you on Capcom vs. Marvel, sir. Man, he can't see me. I did 6 tours, mother. Man, you might not want to go home. I heard your girl said she want to talk. Man, I did 6 tours, mother. Excuse me, K-Ray. Why did you come in late to work today? I did 6 tours, mother. But you work from home. After that, Sub-Zero sees them arms and he like, yeah, I like them. And he starts breaking him down one arm at a time before he freezes him and then he like shatters him, leaving him with like little nubs. Like then he pushes him off the floor that he was on and Jax hit his head on the way down. And I was like, yo, like they are not playing in this movie. And Sub-Zero was like looking at him, bleeding out on the floor, like he was either admiring his work or he was waiting for, the fatality, like sound off in the background. Either way, it showed the levels of Sub-Zero as when he first appeared, barely knowing how to use his ice, to now being a master of it. Cole drops his family off at home, deciding that will be best as he goes out to meet Sonya. Sonya is that one character in the movie who has a room full of pictures and they've been studying this for years and they have like picture dialogues, maps, translation, all that. Like she has different pictures of different civilizations talking about this tournament and we get to see people like Nightwolf and Baraka on her wall. And then she like ties everything up in a nice little bow and she says, all this represents, you guessed it, Mortal Kombat. Like I actually laughed here because Cole was like, you serious? Like, even the name is spelled wrong. And I was like, I was laughing. Like, that was a good one. Like, you gotta give him that. So let's talk a minute to explain the dragon marking. So the dragon marking on people apparently is you're either born with the marking or you can get the marking if you kill someone who has it. Now, if you have that marking, it means that you are chosen to fight in Mortal Kombat, which is why Jax and Cole both have it. Sonya, on the other hand, does not have a marking, as when she was tracking another champion, Kano slits his throat or her throat, and the marking transfers to him. And speaking of which, Kano is the star pupil of this film. As soon as he opens his mouth, he steals the show and pretty much carried the rest of the movie. Like, this man was hilarious, and I'm glad they kept him Australian. Fun fact, Mortal Kombat 1, the original movie, made the change from Kano's original character as he was not originally Australian. However, because everyone liked him from the original movie, the franchise actually adapted that version of Kano, and the smart mouth, fast talking Aussie was born. I felt like the actor knew his role in the movie and played that note the entire time. Like he wasn't too serious, he wasn't too dry, he knew all the right notes, and boy did he shine. Kano is being held hostage by Sonya, who doesn't have a mark, by the way. And in one part of the movie, when Cole asked her if she has a marking, and she says no, Kano was like, wah, wah. like I had to rewind it back because I thought I was tripping. Like, but no, Kano did that. And hate it or love it, this is why Kano wins the entire movie. Also, I want to point out the chemistry between Sonya Blade and Kano was not that I hate you, you killed my partner type of vibe. It was that I want to send Cole out the room and change a rated R movie to a rated triple X type of vibe. Like was I the only one that peeped that? Moving on, they get interrupted by a reptile, not the reptile, and we get another action scene. Reptile comes in invisible at first and start putting hands and feet on Cole and Sonya, and Kano urges them to let him loose. After a while during the fight, Kano gets loose due to Reptile's acid, and because a flare was stuck onto Reptile, Kano was able to find him and insert fan service, insert fatality, and Kano reaches into his chest and pulls out his heart and says, Kano wins. And I wasn't mad at it. Like, it fits his character all the way, so I appreciated that fan service. If you were mad at that, then you probably gonna be mad all film due to the director's constant use of the close-up panning camera. The camera pans in, and then they have a character either say their name or they say like a Mortal Kombat phrase, like, my name is not Kevin anymore. My name is... K-RayTV. Sonya is looking for Raiden's temple, and because Kano knows what it is, she makes a fake deal with him to take them there. As they travel there, Kano is badgering Sonya the entire time, trying to get her to fight him, and then Sonya finally gives in to the fight, and she quickly takes him out. And as she's on top of him, I still don't get that I hate you vibe. Y'all want to tell me something here? Kano clowns her, saying this is why she doesn't have a marking, because she isn't willing to do what is required to get one. And as they continue walking, lost by the way, here comes Liu Kang. Look like he just came from the set of Power Rangers. And he takes them to the temple since he actually knows the way. When we get there, we get to meet Raiden officially. And Raiden gets in his bag. He is this what I'm working with? This lot of here? Yeah, we losing this tournament. I try not to compare characters because that will ruin the movie for me. But man, I really wasn't feeling Raiden in this movie. I needed the part 1 Raiden with the long white hair to be back, because this Raiden seemed bitter and dry. But I guess after losing 9 times in a row, I mean, who wouldn't be? Liu Kang insists on training them, but they're interrupted by Sub-Zero as he comes in there and puts some hands and feet to work. He is really earning his outworld pay here, and he quickly beats Liu Kang, but before he can finish him, Kung Lao comes spinning out the ground and hits him with his iconic hat. Then Shang Tsung and Mileena show up, and Raiden throws a shield up to protect his fighters, which, I mean, he could have done that first. And Shang Tsung is with the people you got, yeah, we definitely win in the next tournament. The Raiden gang then goes off and is informed that they have to unlock their Arcana, because making a world where supernatural stuff just exists just because is a foreign concept for movies like this. But I digress. So they have to lock their Arcana, which will give them access to latent supernatural abilities, because everyone in Outworld is going to be coming with their Arcana already unlocked already. And Jax is there, by the way, because Raiden brought him back to the temple after he found him, and they gave him some mechanical arms, and it is not his iconic mechanical arms. No, it is his scary movie 2 butler arms. He got these baby T-Rex mechanical arms, and I died laughing. It was a scene where he was punching a punching bag, and it was the worst CGI I've seen in a long time. He was I think this was the funniest scene in the movie. If y'all have that clip, send that to me. Please do. Please do. The fighters go into the training pit, excluding Sonya because she doesn't have a mark. And as Liu Kang trains Kano, they play off the sweep kick spam that people used to do in the game, especially when they pick Liu Kang. You know, the whole sweep that you jump and then they sweep you again. That was amazing. I really like that. Then we get another scene where Kung Lao antagonizes Kano, and Liu jumps in, and this pushes Kano to the edge. And while he's getting angry and angry, his eye starts lighting up more and more, and then bam! Achievement unlocked. Kano gets his laser beam. Cole still hasn't unlocked anything and hasn't done much in the film either, so Raiden benches him and sends him back home. We jump back over to Outworld, and Shang Tsung is we cheating, right? We trying to win, right? So let's go get rid of them fighters. And he calls upon Nitara, who I completely forgot all about and had to actually look her up, because I'm what game are you in? And Raiko, the ninja turned Shao Kahn knockoff, and Cabal to assist in his cheating. And I like Cabal in the game, but in here, he talked too much for me. And he is wondering, is Kano with the Earthrealm fighters because he holds a grudge with them because he messed them up in the first place, which is why he wears that mask and iron lung. And he seeks out Kano, and he actually convinces Kano to turn coat and open up the force field. And they immediately spring into action and start putting Paul on all Earthrealm's fighters. And Mileena beats up Sonya and jumps on top of her and tastes her blood on her side. And she notices that Sonya is not one of the chosen fighter, and she like, yo, like, I ain't wasting no kill on you. So she bounces. Cue and Kano sound. Then Natara goes after Kung Lao, and he jumps onto her back and throws his hat down and leads her to his iconic fatality. And I was like, yes, yes. Then they do the pan in camera, and Kung Lao says,
flawless victory.
And I was like, then Kung Lao, feeling himself, tries to fight Shang Tsung, and Shang Tsung is so goated that when Kung Lao throws his hat on, all he does is like move his head to one side, like not even moving himself. Levels, y'all. Levels. This is why he is in boss. Then we jump over to Cole's house, and the Prince Goro was sent to defeat him. And Goro start putting them forearms to use. And I swear, Cole has to have some type of like regeneration power, because this man got beat up in the beginning of the movie, but once he met Sonya, his face was completely fine. And now as Goro like punches him flesh in the face, flesh in the sternum, like he is taking no damage, like none. Then they take it outside, and Cole is just getting mollywopped. Cole is getting beat up, and because his wife sees that, she grabs an axe and then stabs Goro in the side. And this makes Goro turn his attention to his family, and he goes after them. And because of this action, Cole's latent powers awaken. Like, his days of not being able to protect himself is over, and Cole literally gets plot armor as power. I can't make this up. Like, this Wakandan Namotech whiskered basket Aquaman golden armor suit comes onto his body, and now his stats go from new to broken. Like, he like rushes Goro and dislocates one of his arms like nothing, then uppercuts him and stuns him for a few. Not stopping there, but brother gets some tonfas and start making cold cuts out of Goro. Like, he slices off his hand, opens up his stomach, and stabs him in his eye to finish him off. And by this point in the movie, I was ready to throw in the towel. Like, I didn't know I was watching Transformers, a Marvel edition, because the amount of like spools and plot armor in that moment was too much. It was too much. As Jax and Sonya back at the temple is trying to fight, they both get defeated, and Raiko knocks down this like statue, and it like falls onto Sonya. Jax with the baby T-Rex arm is trying to like hold the statue up, and guess what, y'all? Transformers more than meets the eye. Like, yes. Jack's arms transforms into the arms we used to seeing him with. And here is the moment where I text my brother, and I was like, yo, I'm out. I'm done. Like, I didn't know this was a spoof or iteration or a comedy, because this can't be Mortal Kombat. Like, I refuse. But, I continue watching it because, I put in a lot of time already. Shang Tsung must have been fed up just as much as me, as he snatches Kung Lao up and he takes out his soul. And I was like, oh, so I was wondering when or how you was going to die. So this how we doing. Oh, okay. The funny part about this scene, though, is Raiden brings Cole back and then, like, transfers them all to, like, this void place. And I'm like, again, Raiden, you couldn't do this before? Like, you really must be mad about them 9 straight losses. Cole then takes charge of the battle plans, and he wants to like separate each fighter and leaving Sub-Zero last. And each of the fighters leave, and then they take on one of Shang Tsung's fighters. Jax fights Raiko again, but this time he got his new vibranium arms, and he ends them pretty quickly. And then they give us more fan service as he does the head smash fatality. Like, I guess them 6 tours came in handy this time, huh? Then Sonya fights Kano back at a trailer park. And after a game of hide and seek, they take it outside where Sonya stabs Kano in the eye with the garden gnome. Which, by the way, early in the film, he says he doesn't like them. So for karma purposes, this is how she defeats Kano and finally earns her marking. And then As Cole fights Melina, not struggling by the way, just having a casual conversation in plot armor, looks to Sonya, who arrives in like little help here. And I guess her Arcana came unlocked with her newly transferred marking, because she pulls out her Shiri arm cannons and hot shots Melina and just one shots her, leaving a hole like through her back, and you showcasing her spine. And again, I wanted to cut off the movie, like delete the app and just walk away. But you know, time put in versus time lost, so we carried on. For those who are mad at Melina saying that they changed her look, we get a nice moment where she actually shows her iconic teeth. So fret nice, she still came with the original Tarkatan mouth. So there's that. Then we go over to Liu Kang versus Cabal. In the first fight, Liu Kang got beat up. This time he's not playing since his cousin, his kinfolk, just died. So the Arcana is strong in this one. And he pulls off his dragon fatality as he defeats Cabal in this like black tar pit. And then everyone is like happy for their win, forgetting about the main villain in the movie. Sub-Zero goes to Cole's house to kidnap his family, and he took them to the gym, I believe. But instead of deep freezing them and killing them like he's been doing everybody else in the movie, he decided to show like, you know, some growth and use them as a trap. So, Cole comes through to rescue them, and he is no match for Sub-Zero. Like, he looked like he was about to be killed, but Cole's plot armor activates and puts in a long distant call to Netherrealm, where Hanzo, now Scorpion, has been trying to crawl his way back out from. And it was like, I know you don't know me, we family by the way, but I got the man that killed you and your family up here. He about to kill me, and if I didn't mention it, we family, so you gonna come out and help or what? Then bam, Sub-Zero gets hit by that, and we get the famous phrase of, "Get over here!" And now the smile returns to my face, because when these two are on screen, it's magic. So they start fighting, and to my surprise, Sub-Zero was whooping up. Like, he slices him to turn his blood to an ice pick, makes like this ice wall and throws him into it. I'm like, Scorpion, you've been dead too long. You didn't let my guy Sub-Zero level up too much. Like, it even showed where Sub-Zero did like an ice replacement moves, and I'm like, yo, this must have been the other scene where y'all put all the money into. And Scorpion, noticing this, must have, like, you know, gave his distant relative a little talk, like, you said you family, right? I didn't come back to die again, so we're going to jump him. And Scorpion cuts on his flame, and it goes from instead of 1v1 to a 2v1. And I'm like, man, what mode is this? Like, I wish I had this mode when I fought Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Part 2, but you know, I digress. Then Cole plot armor levels up again, and he is able to fight on par with Sub-Zero as he tag teams with Scorpion, and now they are literally beating the armor off my guy. And then we get the iconic finish where Scorpion unmasked and he blows a flame and burns Sub-Zero. I noticed that they didn't make his entire head turn Ghost Rider, but instead they just his mouth region. And I was like, dang, I must have ran out of budget money, spend it all in the beginning, huh? Also, speaking of unmasking, why was Hanzo taking off his mask every 2 seconds when he returned? Like, bro, keep it on. Like, he know who you is. Like, we know who you are. Like, keep that thing on, please. Shang Tsung being mad showed up and was like, that's it. I'll just kill you myself. And then Raiden comes again to intervene. And Shang Tsung gloats like, you know, death is just another realm, right? Like, I can get my fighters back. And, like, do I hear a noob cyber? As Shang Tsung tries to carry on talking, Raiden zaps him and sends him away. And again, why didn't you do this before? Like, man, Raiden should be fired because he has to be performing under work standards. Like, he has to be. Like, somebody check his stats. Now, this is just a reminder. This is before the 10th tournament has officially started. So this is like the pre-story. And because of this, Raiden is like, we need more people, and this sets up the next quest or the next movie where new characters will appear. And by new characters, I mean Johnny Cage. If you're wondering where he was the entire time, worry no more, as Cole says he is done fighting for $200 and his next destination is Hollywood. Not for what, but for who. And we end the movie with a little poster on the wall with Cage's name in the background. Now, I will say this movie was better than Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation, way better. However, it wasn't the best movie, with the original seeming to still be a little bit better, even without the CGI and the blood. What I think the movie failed in is the story. When the fighting was going on for the most part, it was great. The story is the main issue here. Cole was the audience stand-in character, and he really wasn't needed. Like, he didn't add to the film that much to me, and I would have rather made the movies about the origin of the Lin Kuei and the Shinran Ryu, aka Sub-Zero and Scorpion film, to set up the pieces and Scorpion's death. And then the second movie to focus on Outworld and their characters, and maybe the winning of some of those tournaments, to really paint the desperation of Earthrealm's need to win the tournament. And then the last film being about the Earthrealm and the 10th tournament. This would have been a better direction and would have given more characters time to shine with a greater story. With that said, let's wrap this thing up with the good, the bad, and the downright disrespectful. The good, the opening scene. Again, this was the best part of the entire movie, and it seemed like all the key players came in to make sure that this section of the film stood out against the test of time. If they kept this pacing throughout the entire film, it would have been a home run. Also, Kano's character, as he stole the show from me, I felt like Kano knew his role. He knew what type of character to play, and every time he was on screen, it made the film more enjoyable. The bad, the storyline. It got way too slow in places and never really picked up until like the ending. And they spent so much time trying to explain the arcana, the marking, and even fan service. Although I appreciate it, but that took away from an actual enticing story where characters actually develop and we come to care for them and what happens to them in the film. Like, I found myself wanting to rush through the actual story part just to get to the fights, and that's never good. The downright disrespectful. The unlocking of the powers. Like, I can't for the like of me, can't figure out why does Hollywood have to always explain something instead of just placing us in a world where we have select people with just supernatural abilities. Like, hell, we have all these realms and gods and sorcerers, etc. Like, why do we have to make up something as to why it exists, like Arcana? Because not all Lin Kuei members knew how to wield ice, only Sub-Zero and his brother. Not all monks know how to use fire, only Liu Kang, etc. So you had these certain people who stood out, and this is why they were special. This is why they were special and chosen to fight in Mortal Kombat. However, with this system, any Joe Schmo can learn an ability as long as they unlock that dang Arcana. And, you know, I just wasn't feeling that. Cole's power also makes my list, as it was just plot armor, and it didn't really serve a purpose as to Scorpion's bloodline. I thought he was going to be the key to like bringing Scorpion back to the Netherrealm some type of way, not just getting plot armor himself and just leveling up out of nowhere. And since this is a 3-part series, I hope that they focus on a stronger story element and give characters some real development as they try to gather a new squad of fighters. I really do hope in the next one they learn from this one and step it up in the story department and maybe give Cole the Johnny Cage treatment for Mortal Kombat 2 and just get him out of there in the opening scenes. I mean, he served his purpose, right? Anywho, I hope you enjoyed my review of Mortal Kombat. If you did, leave a like, comment your favorite or not so favorite moment of the film, show some love by hitting that sub, click the noti bell, hit all, and share like you care, and I will see you in the next video, alright? Take care. We out. Peace.
You just come running by, like you would.